Welcome to Stress-Free IEP. You do not need to do it all alone. With your host, Frances Schefter, Principal of Schefter Law. You can get more details and catch prior episodes at www.schefterlaw.com. The Stress-Free IEP video podcast is also posted on YouTube and LinkedIn, and you can listen to episodes through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. Now, here's the host of Stress-Free IEP, Frances Schefter.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. Today's guest, Kitchie McBride, is a very special guest, and I know I say that often, but here's the reason. So Kitchie is a health insurance broker and a Social Security analyst, but the reason she became that is because of her special needs child and the help that she realized other parents will need. But even more importantly, she chose to homeschool her child, which I know a lot of my watchers and listeners are in that, should I homeschool? Should I not homeschool? Is it the right decision? Is it the wrong decision? And that's why inviting Kitchie on I thought was so important, because she has so much information, and from the point of view of us as a parent, like what that looks like. So Kitchie, please say hello. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, everyone. It's so nice to be here. Thank you, Frances, for inviting me. What I do right now, I'm a health insurance broker. I only focus on health. And I'm also a social security analyst. It's a registered social security analyst where I help people understand their benefits, and that includes disability benefits. Now, I am here today to talk about my experiences as homeschool mom, but I just wanted to clarify that I homeschool around high school. So basically, my child attended preschool. It's a Montessori-based preschool, and then he went to private school. And we also have to deal with the public school because of the IEP, and I want to share all about that.
Thank you. Yeah, that is wonderful. Because I mean, that's it. As a parent of a child with special needs, different abilities, all the PC terms that we all use, it's a challenging, and school is such a big part. And so I know, and interestingly that you said high school, because a lot of times we can get the kids through elementary school, right? And then that's when things start happening. So what made you move from private to homeschooling?
Yes. First of all, when he was younger, and when we found out, because my son has autism, he's in the autism spectrum. He has ADHD, and he has mixed expressive and receptive language disorder. Now, when he was so young, I thought, am I supposed to homeschool him? And I wasn't prepared for it. First of all, I don't know what to do if I will homeschool him. But at the same time, at that age, there's a lot of preschools and the elementary schools or the grade schoolers. They don't really require too much from them, or maybe especially from the state where we come from. We came from Hawaii. They're more about playing and all that. So it was still okay. And I'm still deciding, am I going to homeschool you or not? But I really don't know what to do. And at that time, so my son is now 20 years old. But during that time, there are no Facebook groups that you could ask a lot of parents. It's not easy. And I was also working. And so it was a little bit, I have to first observe my son, how he is with other kids in school. And I'm trying to know him. And like I mentioned to you before, it's very important to know my child for my perspective. I need to know what his strengths are, what are his weaknesses. And then after that, I can understand what is he going to be dealing with. Like, what are the threats? What are the opportunities out there? And so when he's younger, it's okay. He comes back home and he will have a problem with school, but he can get the help. We get tutors for him and everything. But then when he was in middle school, this is when all comes out. And I was told about that by the teachers. When he goes into middle school and he moves into high school, you will see all of these issues because, the topics becomes more complicated, the subjects. And so just more than one teacher who told me, if I have to insert them into a ranking, I don't know where to put him, because a lot of kids with special needs, their development is asynchronous. They could be high up in one skill and they can be low in one skill. And now you're going to put them in a classroom and try to see where they fit, then they don't fit. That's why they're unique. And so what are we going to do with high school? Because when we had one of the evaluations during that time, the self-esteem is at risk.
Yeah.
And that will, I know that that will worsen by the time that he gets into high school, because the more he can see how different he is, so it's going to be a problem. And so I have to convince my husband, because another issue are the parents. One parent will not agree with it because they haven't heard of it, and especially
Right.
different model. I said, I'm going to do a self-directed learning model. It's based on a Montessori because that's what he had in preschool. And I thought I really like that model. And so I want to implement that, do it in a high school, and make it child-led or student-led. And so I have to convince him when I decided. But that was the main decision, because when they were moving into high school, I remember attending an interview with the principal of the school where he went. It was a school for the gifted with dyslexia or language-based disorder. And the principal said something like, they need, it will become different. They're preparing us. It will become different from the middle school because they have to meet deadlines. And, with a child with an ADHD, he's actually basically, we're talking about a kid who's time blind.
Right.
Deadline is a problem. And so I knew that if he goes into high school with a regular school, it may not help him. But what I really wanted to happen is that, how when you go to school, you spend 6 to 8 hours a day in school. People told you exactly what you're going to do.
Yep.
And then you come home.
And how you have to do it.
Yes, how you do it. And then you come home, you only have this little tiny time to do what you like.
Yep.
So, what you're passionate about and how you going to hone your gifts. So, I decided, I said, you know what? We reverse it. You go to school, you go homeschool, and then whatever you learn what you want to learn and what you need to learn, they will be those 2 hours a day if you want to at that time, but you're not get no pressure. So that's how I ended up, saying, you're going to go homeschool. And he was
And
thankful down the road. Mhm.
yeah, and you and your husband were both working full time when you did this, correct?
Yes, the only difference is my husband, he works full time. He works for the government, federal, because he's a retired Air Force, and I am I switched. Actually, I was growing up. My son, I was working in the healthcare system. Um, I was in healthcare finance. My background is I'm a non-practicing physician. So I came from the Philippines, where I earned my medical doctorate degree, moved to the United States, and my first encounter was how different it is when my child is younger. Why am I going to the Department of Health? Because my son couldn't speak, and then to the school. So I was trying to understand that, and that's how it got me there. So I was working full time, and it was really difficult, to the point that when I left, so as I went back to school in the US, I took my master's in health administration, went into working for the hospital systems, and I can't do it because you have to work, you have to be in the office, and then you have a child, and I worry about school and what's going to happen to him and all that. So eventually, when I fully paid my loan in student loan, I said, I'm going to just be self employed, work for myself. And that's how I decided, if that's included in the plan. If I homeschool him, I should be self employed. So I control my time. So
So you found a way to make it happen because
yes,
right?
but none in my, way back. I have no idea that this is where I will be one day, and it's because of my son, and it's not like it's my choice, but it's just, well, I have to do it because
Right. We're
yes,
moms, we're
yeah.
parents. We do what we have to do for our kids, right?
Yes, so you have plans, but then
Right.
oh, it's not going to happen. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And somebody once told me, a rabbi's wife once told me that we make plans and God laughs.
Yeah.
So like we can make all the plans we want, but like whether you believe in God or not, whatever universe, I'm such a strong believer of once you figure out, you make your determination of what you want to do and how the how will
Yeah.
come. Right? So, like, that's what
Yes.
happened. You were able to self-employ, you were able to get into something that is related to children with disabilities, and you found a way to teach your son. And he's graduated now, right?
He is, but like I realize, you can't just really say that's not for me. I'm not going to do that.
Right.
You know, like I thought before, what? I went to school. I became a medical doctor. I even took my master's degree. I have all these things. Now I have to sit down and think, look back, and assess. Yeah, I did all that, but I have to use it not in a way that I envisioned it. I have to use them. I have to use them so that um uh, uh they don't go into waste, but at the same time it has to integrate with what I'm going to do for my son. So
Right.
that includes now helping people, because what we've learned before is it's difficult to find financial assistance, it's difficult to find resources, it's difficult to find who's going to cover for something that he needs. And so right now, that's actually what I do. I do have a business of insurance, but it's really all about a big portion of my business is charity, because even if it's Medicaid, I'll help you because I know how
Right.
that works. So, yes. Mhm.
Yeah, which is great. It's just, we say it, we do what we have to do for our kids, and I know like it's a hard place. It's what the schools do the best they can, as we know, but for our neurodiverse kids that don't fit in the circle or the square or the
Yeah.
triangle that they have, they're kind of lost. And like, how do we program for them? And I know, like, I sit in IEP meetings and I talk to potential clients about, what is the best situation? And I always start with what is your vision? Like right now, what is the best case scenario? Do you want them with all special ed kids? Do you want them in a private school? Do you want them in a non-public? Like let's start there and then we can reverse engineer it and go back and figure out the steps we need to take. And sometimes there's a pivot in there because you change your mind. Like, well, you know what? This might work, which is what sounds like you. Like you did private school and that was working for a while until it wasn't. Right?
Yes, because we were thinking before he needs that socialization, the interaction. That is the most important. And there's one thing that I will never forget. It was the principal of the Montessori preschool, and she told me whatever happens, the thing that you will prioritize is the emotional and social.
Yep.
Without that, the learning will not even happen, because she told me, don't worry about if they can read or not read or anything, but as long as he's emotionally stable, that's your focus, because that's actually where the problem is with kids like my son. And so I keep on thinking about that. So even if, for example, he's struggling with school, sometimes I just have to hold him for the rest of the day. That's what I love about homeschool. So
Yeah.
no teacher will be mad that he didn't go to school or he was late. I gave him that because sometimes we hurry kids to grow, but in reality, up to 21 or 18 years, that's really short, when especially
Yeah.
people have a long time to live right now. So even right now at 20, I allow him to sleep. Just sleep if you want to catch up.
Right.
Just sleep if you want, and then do what you like, and we'll work on it. One day you will be able to be on your own, or you should know where to go and find out the help that you will need.
That's so great. And so what did you do for the socialization in high school? Like, so he was homeschooled with you
Yeah.
for several years. How did he get that interaction?
Yeah, so the other reason why I was comfortable or more confident to put him into homeschool during high school is because during middle school, I told him, there's this, because, okay, think about this. I've already assessed my son's strengths and weaknesses. And one of them, um, of course, the weakness is language. He had a hard time speaking, communicating with people. However, when you look at his evaluations or testings, he is scoring very high with nonverbal communications. But in terms of speaking, there's really a huge delay. So, what can he do if he is not good in speaking? So, it's anything visual. So, I said, um, first, I said, what if you learn modeling? You're not going to speak. So, um, that was easy for him. So he met kids in modeling schools. That's where he gets his socialization. And then he enjoyed it. I like this, mom. I want to do this. And then he even learned voice acting, because in voice
Oh, wow.
acting, yes, he reads it and he memorizes it, and then he speaks it, and the tone and everything. He learned that. And then we found another modeling school in New York, and he joined that too. So the rest of his high school, um, I believe the pandemic was around that time. So they converted everything into the Zoom meetings, and that's how he attended the classes. That's how he got his socializations, aside from the friends that he met when he was younger. He's still friends with them. So they go
Oh,
out.
good.
It's a small
Yeah.
circle. So that's where mostly socialization is. And eventually, when he got older, he starts to attend the New York Fashion Week, New Jersey Fashion Week, and he has friends
Yeah.
all over the nation. So
Right.
I thought it was good enough. Yeah.
And that is so wonderful, because that's one of the biggest fears I know. I mean, it's in the mom groups. We are all talking about, like, what are we going to do? Like, where's our child? What's going on? School refusal. They're not quite making it in gen ed. Are they going to, but full special ed's not right. But what are we going to do about the socialization? Like, how? But like you said, you find classes of their interest. So, like,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like,
Mhm.
if you have a child that's really into gymnastics, then you go do gymnastics class.
Sports.
That
Yeah.
becomes right, or whatever sport they're into. There's always something you can get your children involved in for that socialization.
Yes. But just to let you know, one of the things that I noticed when he did the New York Fashion Week last time, so I observed him. Can he do this without support? So there was a portion wherein they're going to come out and they have to hold it's a soda can that they're supposed to promote. He didn't come out.
Right.
So after that, he came out with the rest when they all uh, took the walk. And then after the show, I asked him, how come you weren't out there when they're showing the soda? He said, Mom, I didn't understand the instructions. Because you remember, right? So my
Right.
usually when with his disability, um, when a concept is brand new, it's a little bit slow to process it. So it needs a lot of
Right.
repetitions, right? Now, none in the practice ever that made them say they're going to hold something when they walk, and he never heard that. And so now he was being given verbal instructions. But to be honest, the
On
others
the
also got
spot.
right, and the others got confused. Some other kids even came out, because they're up to like early 20s and 30s or something, and there's little kids. They come out, and the soda was like upside down. They're showing it, but they don't really understand what they're gonna do. But my son really just don't understand anything that he didn't even come out at all. So that's one thing that I have to take note, that at this age, okay, someone must understand and explain this. So I still take observations of what he can and cannot do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great, because they're going to need support. And like, today, from what I understand, the workforce is being more understanding and more
Yeah.
accepting,
Mhm.
and making accommodations and looking for the strengths. Because, I say it all the time that our kids I hate special needs. I don't like that term. I don't like different. I don't like any of that. Their brains
Yeah.
work. Like this is the way their brain works. This is what society says is normal. And then
Yes.
this is what the way your brain works. But we need brains that work differently because if not,
Yeah.
how boring would we be, right?
Yes. And if I'm just worried. So that's why I want to emphasize it's about, as a parent, to me, all I learned here is that every single person is unique. But if you try to fit them in what our society said is the standard, you will really miss your son's gift or your child's gifts. And I really don't want parents to miss that, because before, think about it. Think about me. I went to school, well, all the way to doctor, and I love school. I even went back, and until now, I continue to study, to school, school, school. And then I have a son who has a problem in school. And
Right.
if I put the same expectation to him that you're going to go to school, you're also going to get these degrees and all that, I will miss a whole lot, because when aside from being a fashion model, my son is also a very good photographer. He is a fine art photographer. And I learned that because I have my own camera, and he was in middle school and he borrowed it. And I was I was shocked because I didn't think my camera can do what he did. So
Wow.
it turned out that he had the gift for that. He's a visual artist. So I'm not gonna know that if I only focus on what he cannot do. So for me, it's like, okay, what is it that you can do? Let's focus on that first, and then let's focus on the others.
Right, and give them that chance. And I love that you say it, the social and emotional, because I say that also. Social and emotional health it's number one because, and that's the argument I make when people try to say that autism or ADHD, there's no educational impact because the child's getting straight A's or, is above grade level and everything. And it's like, but the educational impact is that they're not available for learning. If you're in your head socially stressed out, emotionally trying to keep yourself together, whatever it is, you are not learning the way you need to be
Yeah.
learning, And so like outside, you might be that one of those people that can read something once and memorize it and score the test or learn how to fake test or whatever it is. But that doesn't mean you're actually absorbing and learning in a safe, good environment. Right? Oh,
Okay.
you muted yourself. Okay, there you are. And so that's so like focusing on our kids' needs. And unfortunately, the school system's as good as it is in Maryland and Montgomery County, it still has a long way to go. And other areas of the country are even worse. But like it's just our kids' social and emotional are what matters most. And as parents, or whether it's adoptive parents, guardians, foster parents, whatever it is, focusing on that social and emotional health is where it is.
And you got to remember, as a parent now, before you can even support your kids' emotional health, you have to take care of your own. Now you have to be
Yes.
emotionally stable. So that's what I learned here. Now I have to, and you have to deal. And usually when you are married, so we met people who got divorced along the way,
Yep.
right? So think about those, and now how are you going to deal with that? And they also have problems at work. So I
Right.
go to work, and it's very difficult, especially also for me in our experience. I found it difficult for my end because for my husband, it's easy for him to leave work and pick up my son. But for me, for some reason, I would hear something. I guess because of the place where I was working, um, I would miss a promotion because I wasn't there. I'm not
Right.
reliable. I have to be out. So these are the impact to the parents. And now you want to give this parent support, but I think over time, what I notice is that um, the support that parents get, because right now we have a lot of information floating everywhere. Now one of the issues would be now misinformation or disinformation or getting that information incorrectly. I don't know what to say with that, but the only thing I can say is that every information that I encounter, I will only use it depending on how I know my child.
Right.
So it's really centered on the kid. But then again, if you think of their emotional, you think about yours too. So
Right.
it's not for the faint of heart. So
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's I know, like, with my child and her, well, both my children and their different needs, like, I've had to take the step back and look at my needs and who I am
yes,
and my expectations and my parenting styles and all that other stuff. Because guess what? It's not working. It's not, like, people say, "What do you mean your kid doesn't go to school?" Like, you go to school. That's what you're supposed to do. But that's not the way today's world is. And it's, what's more important, forcing my kid to go to school that they're going to wind up having a bad day. Chances are I'm going to get
yeah,
called to pick them up, or there's going to be an incident that happens, or whatever, or just let the kids stay home for the day. And, they need a brain break. We get them as adults,
yes, yes.
right? Um, yeah. And that's the other thing is like take care of ourselves, because if our cup is empty, we have nothing to give left. And so
That
it's
is true.
take the me time and take, coaching or whatever it may be, like, take care of ourselves, but putting that focus, I can imagine how more relaxed the family became once you took off that pressure of the school demands.
Yes, it was really relaxed in during the homeschool, but now my problem was my husband, because he's so concerned. He's not doing anything.
So,
He's used to like doing things, and I'm like, leave him alone. He's growing, and he was thinking that this might not be good for him, but eventually, um, he agreed, because you yourself will be the one who would be having headaches if they're being called to school, because
yep,
sometimes the problem happens. The problem shouldn't be there. So think about it. If we put him into a high school and then he has to do all these other things, and then he will have other experiences, and now he's stressed. So you actually put him there to get the stress.
right,
So I might as well just keep him and then just attend his other modeling classes. He attends them once a week, meets with them certain months, and have a good time, and used all that time to hone whatever gift that he has. We've seen this. We've seen celebrities like people in entertainment. They do this. People who are in sports, they focus more on sports. They focus more on whatever talents that they have. We've seen them, and they didn't really do much in school. So it's just a matter of leaving your kid. Now, if he ended up to be a math wizard and he wants to be a doctor and is really studying, I'm all for that. He can do that.
right.
But again, you want to look at the child. What are they really interested in? Basically, in my case, I was thinking, okay, my kid will also be interested in science, like I'm interested in science or business, And it turned out his area is art.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and for me, I have to guide you to understand what your gifts are. How can it support you down the road? What can you do? Um, it's actually looking at, so basically parenting is not just about disciplining them, but also understanding. It's like you're helping someone, like you're the manager of them.
Yeah.
Plus the fact that the other thing that I learned about also, kids never listen to you, especially
Right.
if they have already a language problem. They're not going to listen to what you say, whatever that is. But you know what? They will imitate what you do. So
Yes, that
if
is
you
so
want
true.
if you want them to be polite, you have to be polite.
Right.
You're talking to your spouse, you're talking to anybody. Don't even talk bad things to them about other people, because they will pick that up. Eventually they
Right.
will do that too. So, but then if you are the type of person who, for example, someone served you food and you said, thank you so much for my food, so
Right.
your kid would also be like, thank you so much for preparing this food for me, and that's what I learned about parenting.
It's so funny that you say that, because when I was a teacher, there would be times like, "Why is this kid like that?" And then we'd meet the parent and be like, Oh,
Oh,
that explains it.
the mannerisms, the way
Right,
they tone, the way
exactly.
they say things. Okay, that's where she got this one.
Exactly, like, it just like, all of a sudden, it's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, now," like and it makes sense, which is so true because if you think about, like, the developmental stuff, like, when you go back to when kids are first, babies are first born, what do? They see you smiling at them, so then they eventually smile at
Yes,
you.
yes.
They see you laughing, so they eventually laugh, and, like, everything they do is seeing somebody else do it, and they're imitating it because that's what we're naturally made to do.
Yes, yes.
Right? Without even thinking about it, it's just where humans, I mean, all animals for that matter, because watch other animals do it too, is that they watch the parent do whatever it is, and then they imitate what the parent just did.
You
So
will
it makes
notice like
sense. Yeah.
the way you roll your eyes,
Okay.
the way
Yes.
you just sighed and like little things like
Yeah.
that. And you can see, oh, this is so much like this person, and yeah, but
Yes.
that's what I learned. And so talking to them, so eventually he was able to speak because when he was younger, he had a hard time. But until now, he's having a hard when he has a hard time speaking. He knows what to say. Mom, I lost my words again. I don't know. He's actually explaining it. Well, I lost my words. It was in my head, but I know what it is, but I cannot say it. And I thought that was interesting. So
That is interesting.
that is really interesting. And the funny thing too is that you know how a lot of the other controversial issue was the medications for the ADHD, right? So some parents we tried it, and my son's problem was that, Mom, I took it, but I'm so focused that I'm not. He didn't feel creative. He said he just told me this is based on him. My work is more creative without it, and so can I just not take it? And that's also the reason why we homeschool,
Right.
because he will need the medications when he goes to school to complete all the tasks. Like I said, if he wants to be an accountant, go ahead. But if you want art, you want all these things, okay, lack of focus, okay, that's fine. You can be more creative doing that. So it's funny. One time, when we tried it, I said, oh, this is good. You finished your schoolwork. You're on time. And then the following day, he was behind. So I said, oh, how come that your work yesterday, you finished it, but this one you didn't? And he told me, Mom, the medicine, it's supposed to help me focus. Yeah, but it doesn't change the fact if I don't like the subject, I won't be able to complete it.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't change the desire.
Yeah, he said that's what it does, and it's funny how he explained to me because I'm the one who used to be who practiced medicine, and he told me it's not going to change the fact that I don't like what I'm doing right now. That's what he told me, and he was finishing an essay at that time. So
That is
yeah,
so great. So I want to touch base on, so I know like we started, like at the beginning, you thought about homeschooling, but you didn't find a way, you weren't sure how to do it, and you were so, I don't know. But then when the time was right, everything fell into place so that you could homeschool. Looking back now, and I don't always like doing this, but like looking
yeah.
back now, do you regret anything? Is there anything you would have done differently?
No, I don't feel the regret. I actually felt it's a good thing that we homeschooled in high school. Um, because after the homeschool, he actually got accepted into an art school in California for college, but they have this program wherein he can try it during the summer and see what he thinks. So the problem there was the deadlines, and
Uh,
he's gonna move there, and we just moved to here in Maryland. And so I said, all I know is that there's a time for the school to happen. So you don't have to hurry up. So me, after high school, I went straight to pre-med. My husband went to military and went back to school later. So I said, this is what your dad did. Because he knows if he goes to school early, he may not do well, but he went later and he finished cum laude. So you can go to school later and it is fine. But right now, you will focus on things that you like and what you enjoy doing as long as we can. But of course, we have to plan how you will be without mom and dad. It's something that we want to
Right.
have in mind. So, looking back, getting that acceptance from a school, that makes him feel good. So that made him feel like, oh, I can do it, I can go there, even if I'm also homeschooled. And so that helps. And for me, I know that the alternative would be a young man who is probably rebellious right now. That's what I think. He would probably
Yep.
be rebellious right now, and he probably hates the world because they already hate it that they're different.
Right.
So what they can hold on to is the gift that they have. If they discover, oh, I'm good at this, because I told him nobody's good at what you're good at. Every
Right.
person has something that they're good, which is interesting, because remember, I went to medical school because that's where my parents want me to go to.
Yeah.
um yes, and but when I was middle school, I was writing a lot of poems and all that. And what happened here is that my son reminded me of the artist in me. That I'm also an artist. I write. So right now, I published them in Medium. I write poems a lot of times.
Oh,
Yeah. So he made me see that. Otherwise, I will not go back to that, and I will just be doing my job. And but it's such a stress release to do art. So I
yeah.
enjoyed writing. I enjoyed so
It's so
without him, I wouldn't have rediscovered that about myself. So
Yeah, it's so funny you say that because I definitely, I studied art in Italy for a semester, and art is a big thing for me. And I always say I wish I had time to do it. And you know what? I need to start making time to do it.
yes,
It's
in
so
fact,
important to have
yeah,
that part, especially like being a lawyer and a law firm owner. And I'm like business, 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 business. There's really no creativity. There is some with analyzing this case and that case, but like when like just true creativity, letting it out, there isn't much. And it's so important, I think, for everyone to like do what you love.
yes, and you got to remember too that um, art helps us, especially with our mental health, because a lot of the songs that were written, a lot of the stories, a lot of paintings or any form of sculpture or anything, those are, for me, I had a poem about this. It's actually a nonet. It is about conversion of that pain into something beautiful. And then you let the whole world fall in love with the product because of your pain. You convert pain to beauty, and then you let the whole world fall in love with it. And that's why we listen to songs,
Right.
because that makes us feel good. But someone's pain made that song,
Yeah.
and in return, they make people happy, and they get healed. So for me, I thought at that point on, it was important. So my son was a photographer and a very good artist. I purchased uh, a professional camera for him. He got
So,
a very good camera, and a lot of people said, "Oh, that's a waste of money." I said, "No, it's not going to be a waste of money." And right now, we have all his photos, and the fact that he can see them and he's proud of his work. I want him to feel that I am good.
that's priceless. Yep.
Yes, I have something. I am something that I'm good at, and I showed him my other friends' photographer photos. These are their photos. It's like what you have. Can you imagine if you become as old as they are? And that really makes him feel good. Mhm.
Yeah. And it's so true. It's so, like it triggered last night I was watching So You Think You Can Dance, and one of the solos was just, it was her pain, and she put it out in her dance, and just
Yeah.
the love we all felt for her. Like you just saw it, the audience, the judges, everyone. It was just, and it is, you let the pain out and you let others love you, and it releases it.
And I love it that it's
Yeah.
nonverbal,
Right,
like there's no
right, it doesn't
words.
have to be
Yeah.
verbal. You don't have to go see a therapist all the time, but find what works for you and find what calms you and how you can get it out, however that is, and, move on. It's just yeah. So I love it. So, like, like, I just, because like bringing it back full circle, like you have an elementary kid, you have the diagnosis, you see their struggles, you're thinking about homeschooling, but you're not going to be able to make it work. You can't make it work. And then all of a sudden in middle school, you're like, oh my gosh, we've got to figure this out.
Yeah.
And then you figured it out. You know, the universe provided what you needed when you needed it. And you have an amazing son now. I've seen his pictures. I've seen his modeling. Like, he's just awesome. And then like looking back, there were no regrets. Like, you did what you needed to do at the right time, you know? And that's what I think also is like, people are like, well, I don't know. Should I do it in elementary school? Should I do it in middle school? Like, you know what? Take the step back, look at all your options, and when it's right, the way will present itself.
Yes, and one thing more that I think I want to share, so I think I met a lot of parents. They decided to homeschool, but then they brought the school mentality to home.
Yep.
They have a start time, they have this time, and then they
Yep.
have testings. Um, Now you're bringing. So the school might be better if that is the case. So you have to you have to think outside the box, like remove the box.
Right.
There's
Right.
no box. We're
Yeah.
gonna do it, and your basis would be your child. Just look at them, and I think you have to accept them for who they are. Sometimes we can't accept it. Like, for example, if I'm really thinking that, okay, one day my son's going to be like me or continue what I haven't done. I didn't go to practice in medical school. I didn't practice as a doctor. Maybe he should do it. If I think that way, that's going to be really stressful. But then if you just learn to accept, oh, that's what you're into. I know nothing about that. And maybe if I can learn something about that, I would understand you more. I think it's important that they get that support.
Yeah. No, it's so true. I love how you say that. Then you bring the school into the house, because that's so true. Well, what curriculum am I going to use? How am I going to do a curriculum? What am I? It's like, you don't need a curriculum. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's tons of, like, now there's Facebook, there's homeschool groups, there's places online for support groups, and you figure it out and make it happen. Yeah, it's just the things we do for our kids. Like, I think back and like what, like everybody look back on your life and think back, way back when. Did you think you would be where you are now? Did you think you could do what you
No.
are doing now? Right? Like, I know for me,
No.
no way. If you had told me, way back when I was in high school, that I was going to be a lawyer and a law firm owner, I would have laughed in your face, because that wasn't even a goal of mine. That wasn't even on the top, of anything I even thought about. But it's just the way life took me. And once I let go and let my interests guide the way I wanted to learn. And I wasn't a good reader in elementary school. And so I didn't think I was smart.
And look at you
Because,
now.
right. And look at me now, right? Like, I got into
Yeah.
law school. I made it onto law review, like I graduated, I own a law firm. Obviously I can read. It just they weren't doing it in the way that
They're
I
making
comprehended.
you
Right?
read something you don't want to read.
Exactly.
That's the most
Exactly.
common one, right?
Right. And forced into, like, you have to read Shakespeare and you have to read this and you have to read that and analyze it this way. But like, why?
Yes. Mhm.
So
Yes.
uh,
The way you think,
so
everything,
yeah.
you have to follow it. If you go outside that, you're not going to be good. So I think it is important to look at your child and understand how unique are they. And it will be a problem if you don't like what they're good at or what they do, but it's important to acknowledge it because it might even move. Like, for example, they like doing it and eventually they don't. I remember with my child, so he was in Montessori, and they have it started with the puzzle maps, because so he spent a lot in math, and then if he's not doing math, he would be doing the puzzles of the continents, and that's how it evolved. He started to read about those countries all around the world, and now he is studying history. So, and I don't
The
like
natural way.
yes, and I don't like teaching him how to read because it's stressful. So I left him alone. I bought books that maybe he would like to read based on the movies that he watched, and eventually he read them all. And that's why right now He's at home. He's not in college. But what I did was I sent him to Montgomery Community College. They have a lot of non-credit courses. Take the non-credit courses, not gonna, and he takes all the history classes. Sometimes it's about money that they teach. He enjoys all those. So he's gonna do that until he's ready. And I want to hear it from him. He eventually said, maybe when I'm ready, someday I'm gonna start going to school, the actual college, and I said, you don't have to, and you can really come up with other things to do, as long as you're happy. But I just want you to understand that. But what made him think that is because he really loved history. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's great. And and you had said something, or you wrote it somewhere about your son being your compass. And I love that,
Yeah.
because and that's it. Like, our children should be our compass, especially when it comes to their education, their future, and their lives. Like, focus on your child. Emotionally, what does your child need? Socially, what does your child need? The math, the reading, the writing, all that stuff will come, but
Yeah.
get that social emotional piece where it needs to be, and then worry about the rest.
Like the reason what I love about homeschool is that, today what are we gonna do? Okay, I'll just hug you today,
Right.
because it's hard. He's gonna tell me, because I asked, you gotta tell me if you're having a hard time. I'm having a hard time. And remember, what he does is what he likes anyway. Meaning, if he's not doing them, he's not feeling good. So so he gets to choose it. It's the Montessori that I followed. But you what I did was I stick to the basics. There's math, yeah, you can do that, but you don't have to. And they have to be meaningful. So especially when something's going on, and this is a good time to learn this topic, because that's how you learn it, versus this is what's going on in the whole, in the whole state, or what's going on in the world, and you're studying something totally different. It will not sink in. So you want to take advantage, like the pandemic. This is the time to study science about viruses,
Right.
Yes, because
I love that you say like it might be a day that he just needs to be held, because that's one of the things we talk about a lot, is you know what, if my kid really needs a mental health day, I'm going to keep her home. The problem with when she goes to regular school, she's now missing assignments, she's now missing tests, she's now missing this, so she's falling behind, which is making more anxiety, which just wasted the mental health day, because now you've doubled it all up again. This has been so awesome, Kitchie. I'm so glad we finally connected and got on together.
I know.
It's been over a year. I think you were one of the first guests, and then things happened. And I'm so happy we finally got together and got to have this conversation. And listeners, I hope you've been listening, and I hope you got as much information out of this as I did, and just insights of being a parent, and also, health insurance and social security analyst. So if you ever need that stuff, we will have that contact information in the show notes, so you can reach out to Kitchie. But thank you, Kitchie. This has been wonderful.
Thank you so much.
You've been listening to Stress-Free IEP with your host, Frances Schefter. Remember, you do not need to do it all alone. You can reach Frances through schefterlaw.com, where prior episodes are also posted. Thank you for your positive reviews, comments, and sharing the show with others through YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more.